Hello everyone and welcome to the Scandinavian Culture Club. Thanks so much for checking us out. My name is Adam Moody and I'm the creator of the Scandinavian Culture Club. This is a shorter video explanation of what the Scandinavian Culture Club is all about. If you'll look to your right, there's another video that says extended version if you want to watch that version and get a lot more detailed information about what the club is all about. You can watch that, but for those of you who just want to go ahead and get started, this should give you enough information to help you understand what this is all about and how you can jump in and join the club and be a part of seeing a nation change for the gospel and helping to change the world in the process. So just a little bit of information about us. As I said, my name is Adam Moody, and this is my wife Stacy here on the left and our daughter Elizabeth on the right. My wife and I have had the privilege of serving God really around the world, a lot in Europe, working with internationals and people from those nations as well, especially people with kind of an atheist, agnostic background mindset. And we've also had the opportunity to work with refugees in the U.S. And right now, Sweden is continually on our hearts, and I'll share why in just a moment. But we've been involved in ministry for a good amount of time now, had a lot of training, and really had some great experiences being able to share the gospel and make disciples with people in the U.S. and in Sweden. And then this is also our lovely little daughter Elizabeth, who's not so little anymore, and she's really enjoys helping us out in ministry as well, and she's looking forward to continuing to help us out do ministry in Sweden as well. So that's a little bit about us. You can find more about us on our website or always send us an email. So one of the biggest questions that we always get is why Sweden? And really it's a twofold question, because why Europe? Europe, a lot of people don't think of as a place that needs missionaries. Very often when we talk to people, they put a question mark and say, wow, you're going to Europe, you're going to Sweden. I thought they had churches there. In fact, Sweden and a lot of the countries in Europe, things have really changed over the last 30, 40, 50 years. And now 9 out of the top 15 least religious countries and most atheist countries are actually in the continent of Europe. The church is dying, if not dead in some countries already. Church attendance in many of these countries in the continent of Europe is in the low single digits, especially in the Scandinavian countries of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland. In fact, if you don't believe me, you can go and read about this on a Washington Post article. Sweden is actually the second least religious country in the world now, just behind China. This article was done back in 2015 when they did some surveys and found out that Sweden, just behind China, is the second least religious country in the entire world. There's maybe 2 to 3% Christian in the entire nation. And as you can see, a lot of nations in this European area are actually unchurched and unreached with the gospel. Again, more details are in the longer video, but the spiritual climate, the spiritual situation in Europe is so dire, is so desperate, and there needs to be more missionaries there, and missionaries who are able to stay long-term planting churches and share the gospel. Now you may ask, what in the world does this have to do with the Scandinavian Culture Club? Well, it really has a lot to do with it, because God has really put a big burden on our hearts for missionaries, seeing missionaries funded, including ourselves, but even helping to fund other missionaries, especially go into the continent of Europe, because it's a challenging place to fundraise for, because a lot of people don't understand the need there, because it wasn't a place that missionaries went 30, 40, 50 years ago, but is now a place that desperately needs more missionaries. And here's basically our burden. We have seen over the last 5, 10, 15 years, a lot of missionaries go out around the world and leave their home country to go, learn a new language, learn a new culture, leave their family and friends behind, and invest their lives in another nation, and yet be underfunded. And very often what happens when missionaries are underfunded is that, they have to eat, they have to, give their kids food and a place to live. They have to pay for schooling for their kids as well. And very often what happens is when they're lacking funds, the first thing to go is really the cost that it takes to do the ministry. And we feel like there are a lot of missionaries out there that we've met and that we know and that we are yet to meet, and missionaries who are trying to get to the field, who are going to do a great job, or who are already doing a great job in nations all around the world, and should be able to just focus fully on that ministry and be able to thrive in ministry, not just get by. And we want to be able to help those missionaries along with helping us to get back over, or to get over to Sweden and share the gospel and plant churches. And so that's in short our burden. Again, you can watch the longer version of it in our video. And so God put this burden on our hearts. You see the desperate need for the gospel in the Scandinavian region of the world, in Europe. And then He's put this burden on our hearts. And I just thought, what can I do? What can we as missionaries do, not only to help us plant a life-giving, exciting church that will change the hearts and lives of people with the gospel of Jesus in the nation of Sweden, but also help our brothers and sisters in Christ, fellow missionaries who are doing a really great job, but just don't always have the resources to fully thrive in their ministry and do an even better job and be able to even reach more people with the gospel. And I remembered many times as I've been in Sweden, I've seen these international exchange students. International exchange students literally come from all over the world for anywhere between 6 months up to 2 years to study in Sweden. And it's just a fun, exciting experience. And honestly, a lot of these students, they come from countries in Asia, South America, Europe, the U.S., Canada, literally all over the world. Students just come there on these 6-month to 2-year exchange programs. And almost every single one of these students, what I have seen is that they have the time of their lives when they're in Sweden. I mean, they have an absolute blast. They get to learn about Swedish food and eat Swedish food. They learn a little bit about Swedish culture, a little bit about the language. They experience Swedish holidays and festivals. And then on the weekends, they go and visit some of the top tourist attractions in Sweden as well. It's just an overall blast, a fun experience for these students. They get to build relationships with other people who are going through the same thing as them. And I thought, what if we could create some type of digital experience, much in the same way that these international students had a blast? We can also help other people to have a really good time learning about Swedish language, Swedish food, Swedish culture, and even have the opportunity to get a trip for 2 to go to Sweden one day and see our ministry and turn their digital experience into a real one. And that's where this idea for the Scandinavian Culture Club came out of. So this burden that missionaries were underfunded around the world, but also trying to bring a digital product and a digital experience, just like I saw a physical experience with the international students in Sweden. We wanted to create an opportunity for everybody to learn and have a really great time and have a lot of fun, while knowing that the majority of this money is going to help fund our church planting ministry in Sweden, and that it's going to help fund missionaries worldwide who are doing a great job, who are also underfunded. And we wanted to be able to create a team of prayer warriors all around the world who are praying for these nations that are spiritually desolate, these nations that desperately need the gospel to come and radically change them. And so that's where the Scandinavian Culture Club came in. You can read a little bit more about this in the longer version, but basically from the very beginning we're dedicating at least 10% of the gross income of the Scandinavian Culture Club to go directly from day one to other missionaries who are doing a really great work in the world. And the other funds are going to go to help us plant a church in Sweden, fund our ministry, help us to see disciples made, people's lives changed, develop training materials and translate them into Swedish from English, and help really just train people to be effective ministers of the gospel in the country of Sweden once again. So what is the Scandinavian Culture Club? What do you get as a member of the club? Here's just a couple of things that you get. The number one thing is that every 10 days we're going to be sending you new delicious Swedish food recipes, and some of these are going to be desserts, some of these are going to be main courses, some of these are going to be side dishes, breads, just about every category of food that you can think of. We are going to be sending you every 10 days as long as you're a member of the Scandinavian Culture Club for all time. And this is going to be a fun experience for you to be able to enjoy some Swedish food, some European foods, and eventually we'll also send you some recipes in the future years for some other nations in Europe as well. And these will be coming from what we call the Swedish Food Club. And again, if we start sending you recipes from another country in Europe, we'll call it maybe the French Food Club or something like that. And then on top of that, you're going to get a once a month Scandinavian culture emails. Okay, you're going to be able to learn a Swedish word or phrase. You're going to be able to click this button here. You're going to be able to listen to a Swedish person actually say this word or phrase, and you can learn this if you want to. You're also going to learn about more content about why Sweden and why Europe needs Jesus every single month. So once a month you'll get an email like this. It'll have 4 parts. and hopefully that'll get you praying as well, and being a part of this prayer warrior team that we're having together as a member of the Scandinavian Culture Club. Because there is power in prayer, and God somehow uses our prayers to bring about change in this world. And then you're also going to hear different things about Swedish culture. So it may be something about their society that's unique and different than we have in our society, like their cafe culture, for instance. They have something called fika, where they sit down and have coffee and some type of pastry a couple times a day with friends or coworkers, and it's just a really great way to build relationships. And then lastly, you're going to learn about Sweden's top tourist attractions. And these last two, the Culture Corner and the top tourist attractions, are almost always going to be videos, pretty short, but where you can have a really, really good time learning. And we hope this is really exciting for you. So those are the main two parts of what you get the Scandinavian Culture Club. You get the recipes every 10 days, and then you also get a once-a-month email with all the cultural information about Sweden and how you can be praying for that nation as well, and for the Scandinavian region as a whole. And then last but not least, you get the potential opportunity to receive an all-inclusive trip for 2 to Sweden. I know a lot of you are excited about this, and it's probably one of the reasons you watch the videos. You want to know, how can I receive this all-inclusive trip for 2 to Sweden? And basically, every time we hit 1,000 new subscribers, we're going to give for free an all-inclusive trip for 2 to one of our subscribers. It's that simple. So if you get out there and help us to find more people, the faster we find people, the faster we hit these goals of 1,000 new subscribers, the faster we'll be able to give the all-inclusive trip for 2 to Sweden. We're also going to have future features like live cooking videos in Sweden. We're also going to send you guys our ministry updates, which we do that maybe once every 2 to 3 months, and updates on the missionaries that we're also helping to support with these subscriptions, so you can continue to pray for them as well. We're also going to give you access to a private Facebook group where you can interact and share pictures of the recipes you're trying out, maybe talk about one of the top tourist attractions that you would like to go see, and maybe even tell people if you're going to take a trip to Sweden or the Scandinavian region of the world, and just have a really great time connecting with other believers in there. And then lastly, you're going to have the chance to participate in competitions to win IKEA or Visa gift cards, and we'll send emails out to let you guys know when we're doing those, with more details about that as well. But just some fun competitions to help us to spread the word about the Scandinavian Culture Club. So let's talk really quickly about price. This is something that is going to be fun, it's going to be enjoyable, and I'll be honest, we didn't want to leave anybody out. And because of that, and because nowadays everything, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, a lot of the stuff that we do nowadays are done in a monthly subscription basis. We wanted to do something like that at an easy enough cost where almost anybody could do it, anybody could participate, because we don't want to leave anybody out. And so you get all of this, what I've said, and more, for just $15 a month. And if you really think about it and break it down, that's less than 50 cents a day, less than 2 quarters a day. And because it's less than 2 quarters a day, change, pocket change basically, that's why we say with small change, you can make a big difference. So for less than 50 cents a day, you're not only helping us to be a part of the team that plants a life-giving church in one of the most spiritually desolate nations on earth. Remember, Sweden is the second least religious country in the entire world, just behind China. So with your less than 50 cents a day, small change, you're helping us to make a big difference, not only in the nation of Sweden, but also in these other nations around the world, because as we grow this subscription base, we're going to be able to partner with and support more and more missionary families. In fact, our hope and our goal is that we eventually are able to support missionary families in 30 to 50 countries worldwide. And again, it all starts with you. It all starts with one person at a time, dedicating less than 50 cents a day to seeing the world change and to seeing the gospel be spread. If there's no other reason than that to join and be a part of this thing, I hope that gets you excited. Again, if you want to watch the longer version of this where we share some stories of impact, about the impact that this is already making, you can watch the video just to the right of this. If you have any questions, you can always email us at subscription@themoodiesinSweden.com. You can also fill out our contact form at the very bottom of this page, and we can answer you if you have any questions. Check out the FAQ section at the bottom of this page as well. We just want to say again, thank you so much for those of you who are joining. Thank you so much for those who are partnering with us in this. You really are making a difference and making an impact in the world as we spread the gospel into some of the most unreached and unchurched and irreligious countries in the entire world. Thank you so much. God bless you.